Okay, great. Let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining today's Coresight Conversations, our weekly digital event series, and we hope everyone is staying safe. Today, Mondays, is our innovation track, and we're honored to have the CEO of Israel-based Anagog here with us. Anagog provides a smartphone-based contextual marketing solution that uses an AI-powered engine to provide hyper-personalized engagement. The company prides itself on customer data protection and has raised over $15 million in funding to date. Today, we're going to discuss the challenges and opportunities within marketing and personalization. We're going to discuss customer data privacy, and of course, the impact of coronavirus and a lot more. We'll be adding some audience poll questions during the discussion, and we encourage everyone to participate, and we'll share those results towards the end of the conversation. We also encourage everyone to submit any questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of the webinar screen, and we'll try to address those either throughout our conversation or towards the end. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome and introduce the CEO, Ofer Tziperman, and I'd love for him to kick us off by telling us a little bit about what Anagog does and going through a few slides to discuss their solution.
Sure. Thank you very much, Steven. It's great to be here today. So maybe let me try to share my screen with everybody, and then I'll walk you through some slides. So I assume that everybody can see my slides. So in terms of the topic for discussion today about personalization, it is very interesting to note that if you're looking today at the overall level of accuracy, or better to say inaccuracy, according to Deloitte, it reaches up to 71% of inaccuracy across different metrics on the online activities. And same goes for other types of information like type of home, presence of children, and so on, where this is actually below 50%. So clearly, while you can learn a lot from online activities, no doubt that by being able to understand the offline activities, the non-digital life of ourselves, there is so much more you can learn. So into this gap, we stepped with a solution that we call JEDI, which is actually an on-phone artificial intelligence engine that knows to interpret the different sensors on a phone in order to allow the phone itself to understand both the activity and the location of the user, and to even build a very detailed profile of the user, all the way to even predict what the user is likely to do next. All of that 24/7, but with ultra low battery consumption, less than 1%. Let me show you on the next slide what my phone was able to learn about me when I was traveling a few months ago. And you can see that it can understand when I'm in the airport, when I'm walking, later on I'm sitting at the Starbucks, then again in the airplane, then in the taxi, then arriving to my hotel. Now, think about the fact that all of that is done on the phone and by the phone. No need to send anything to the cloud. And it can go even to the extent that my phone can understand my daily routine for every day and every hour. What is the chance that I'm at home or at work or in my car, and so on. So all in all, it can now start to build a very detailed profile of myself. But not less important, we're taking that to the next stage of allowing the phone to understand the perfect moment of engagement. So if I'm just now leaving home, it would definitely make no sense to engage me. But 10 minutes later, when I'm in the train, that would be a perfect time of engagement. So that's also understanding the moment of engagement. And as you can see over here, obviously, according to McKinsey, if you have hyper-personalization, which is done well, you can increase in almost all of the parameters. But maybe as a last slide, the point is obviously the issue of privacy, right? And over here, we came with a very interesting solution. If we start from the left side, this is what is now in the industry by everybody. Google, Facebook, just name it. In order to provide that person with personal and contextual offering, his profile must be on the respective cloud. Otherwise, how can the cloud know what to push in his direction? But, and that's the privacy issue, obviously. What we have innovated is that for the first time, we managed, as I've demonstrated, that the phone is going to learn the profile of the user. And if you don't want to, this profile will never leave your phone. So the phone can approach the cloud and ask for offering number 5 and number 22 because they fit my profile, but it doesn't tell the cloud who I am. So with this little issue, we actually solve the issue of privacy because you can get personal and contextual offering without anybody knowing who you are. So that's just a quick introduction in terms of what my phone can actually learn about me.
Thanks, Ofer. And I think we find the issue around solving for customer data privacy extremely relevant in today's environment. But the other issue of the blind spot of retailers understanding customers' offline behavior and being able to target them in an environment that's contextual to where they want to be targeted or what they're doing at the time. Can you just discuss what you think are some of the biggest opportunities and challenges of delivering those marketing messages and those hyper-personalized messages today?
Yeah, I think that you touched the main point. Eventually, everybody today are focusing on the online or digital, but there is definitely a very big blind spot in understanding the offline behavior of people. And eventually, I would even say 80% of our interactions are done offline. So there is a big personalization gap, and it is calling for a good solution.
So if you talk about non-targeted promotional strategies, which we were having a conversation before this, a lot of retailers and brands still go through traditional methods of targeting, whether it's ads on TV or shopping carts. They seem to be having a less of an impact on shoppers' buying decisions today versus 5 to 10 years ago. So why do you think these conventional approaches to promotional strategies are having less of an impact today versus, say, 5 to 10 years ago?
Well, in today's world, this type of attitude of one size fit all is no longer working, and practically we all became kind of blind to this type of advertisement. So we call it over here, you need to find the moment of surprise and delight, right? If you want to maximize your engagement, you have to do that. And we believe that eventually the phone is the best medium to do that.
So with that, I'd like to launch our audience poll questions, and we'll continue the conversation. We encourage everyone on the line to participate, and we'll share those results following the conclusion of the webinar. So, Ofer, in your eyes, in today's modern consumer, they have very high expectations in how they want to be engaged, and customer loyalty and customer acquisitions remain at the forefront of retailers and brands' objectives. So, where do you see personalization can add the most value to the customer experience?
So, as discussed before, customers today are kind of different. They have high expectations, and the loyalty is, in a way, a little bit doubtful to a single brand. So, as such, we believe that brands eventually should focus on getting constant value to the users by, first of all, acquisition, then attrition, and finally, deepening the relationship with the customer. and to be able to succeed, eventually they will need to create a much greater customer experience from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So, we believe that to improve this experience with this kind of moments of surprise and delight, the only way is to differentiate yourself, and you need to understand people in the real life in order to match the right product to the right person at the right time, and then doing that hopefully by bridging, the offline and the online journeys.
So I guess that begs the question: if we're going to this stage of hyper-personalization and personalization becomes so specific, the question would ask is how can, hyper-personalization coexist with privacy?
Yeah, it's the basic point, because today we have this trade-off, right? You want to have more personalized offering on one side, but then you are being asked to give more on your privacy in order to achieve that. But definitely this is not good for the consumers, and definitely also not for the brands. What we believe is that by taking this new technology, which is called the Edge AI, this is now possible for the first time to retain my personal information only in my phone. So I don't have to share it with anybody. So think about it. Now my phone is pulling for me from the cloud only the data which is relevant to me, but without disclosing my personal identity to the cloud.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, we had a question come in while you were giving that explanation that's very relevant. How can we use the solution, or can we use the solution to develop aggregated insights on consumer behavior? For example, how they shop the store, if the data does not leave the phone.
That's a good point, because the whole idea is that you can define now the experience that you would like to achieve, and you can define the same rules that you would define in any normal marketing automation solution, but over there you will define that in the cloud. What we are saying is that for the first time you can define these rules in the phone, and they will wait for the exact perfect moment to happen, and then the right message is going to be waiting for you exactly at the right moment. But this time it is going to come from within the phone. So this is a new solution that we are actually bringing to the market as we speak.
So in your eyes, consumers are willing to share their personal data or information in exchange for added value. So we talk about added value. What type of value do you think they expect in return for giving up, let's say location tracking, or very very personal things that they might not want to share, but they're willing to share if they understand that there's value to be had. So can you talk about the type of value consumers expect in return?
Yeah, when we're talking about people, value really varies very much from one person to the other, right? If you take Facebook as an example, it's a great example how somebody is willing to trade all of their personal information just for social emotional value. But in other cases, people may ask for more tangible or even financial benefit, in order to hand over their private information. And some people will never turn in any of their private information under any kind of circumstances. So marketers actually need to understand what is the right offer, the different offers that they need to give to different type of people, and in exchange for their personal data. Or what we believe, they should try to adopt a solution that for the first time is not taking any information out of your phone. So what we are actually trying to do, in another word, is trying to bring new technology to fix the wrongdoings of the old technology by allowing me to get personal and contextual offering, but without sharing my information. I know it sounds like impossible. It used to be impossible, but now we are actually demonstrating that this is doable. And
so this actually came in from the audience. this approach, will it rely, let's say as a marketer, on different metrics to measure if marketing is working? And if it does rely on different metrics, how can marketers effectively measure that engagement?
So part of what we have demonstrated is that we managed to take metrics by pulling only anonymized information and only from 1% of the individuals. So you can launch a campaign initially to only 1% of your audience, and then you can take only anonymized information, meaning nothing that can identify the individual. And based on that, you can build metrics that would allow you to understand which people react in the best way to which type of offerings, where in what is their whereabout, how many of them are now connected to Wi-Fi, how many of them are just about to go to sleep, and so on and so forth. So eventually, with a predefined metrics that we already have from millions of users, combined with that specific audience, you can plan your marketing campaign in a very accurate way, even if you don't need to continuously pull people's private information.
And do you have any recommendations in terms of how retailers and brands can increase the likelihood of customer consent?
Well, you know, as a start, we believe that they need to change the existing paradigm, you know, of collecting a lot of data. We simply don't believe this is needed any longer. So this is why some of the retailers are now actually telling us that they are happy to bring artificial intelligence to the rescue in a way. Because, you know, if you are giving consumers full privacy and full control, you're actually solving the problem. Full privacy, full transparency, excuse me, is that we are telling you, we the retailer are telling you, we do not need to collect your data. And then we will even allow you to see on your own phone what your phone learned about you, and will allow you to turn on and off each one of the parameters. So we even give you the control. And if people feel that they have full transparency and they have full control, they are more likely to give a consent.
That's interesting. And so the last question here on customer data privacy, you know, emerging privacy regulations are occurring across the globe. You know, we have GDPR have made it mandatory for companies to obtain consent from their customers to collect and use their personal data. And we've seen, you know, retailers and brands shift their privacy collection strategies accordingly. Under Armour's latest privacy policy was over 8,500 words. Do you think that some of these brands and retailers are doing a good job at communicating the collection and use of customers' personal data? And if you don't, you know, what are some strategies that you think that they should better, you know, offer customers for them to understand that we are collecting your data, this is what we're collecting, versus, you know, a document that's, you know, 8,500 words that you're likely going to go to the bottom and click consent.
Unfortunately, this is so true. But, you know, in a way, my personal belief is that GDPR, believe it or not, is actually not improving consumers' privacy in any way. The only thing that it does is making the companies making even a longer term of use. And you know what? Eventually, we do click yes, we agree. So it doesn't really help. We believe that the solution is quite simple. Instead of offering fancy, long privacy policies, we should just offer privacy. And the only way of offering privacy is if you do not take my personal information on the first place out of my phone. Why protecting it later if you don't need to collect it on the first place? So I know that so far it was impossible. This is why we are all trained to believe that we have to collect all of this data, but now we don't. With artificial intelligence on the phone, we don't.
I mean, that's a great point. And just to shift gears, because I want to get to our conversation at the end of this about the impact of coronavirus on customer behavior. Let's shift gears to you know, the retailer environment and what they're facing with e-commerce and the competition. We spoke about high customer acquisition costs while retention in retail continues to be one of the lowest across industries. And, this is probably primarily due to the abundance of choice available online and the low barrier to entry. So in your opinion, what are some hyper-personalization strategies to help address the problems such as customer churn and declining loyalty? We talk about these micro moments that retailers can take advantage of. So, in your opinion, what are some of these micro moments, and what does the optimal experience look like? We know that it varies from customer to customer, from company to company, but let's just talk about some of those micro moments and best practices for engaging.
So, retailers eventually should ask themselves, how can they understand the main categories in order to serve you and me in a better way, right? Mm-hmm. So hyper-personalization in the real world, unlike in the online digital world, is comprised of hundreds of personal microsegments. Let me maybe give you just a few examples, okay? Your phone can understand where is home, where is the office, what is the typical time that you leave home, that you return home, that you leave office, what is your family status? Do you have kids? The phone can see if you're dropping them at school or picking them up. Are you physically active? And maybe what is the type of activity? Do you like to walk, run, cycle, golf? What's the duration? What's the frequency? Are you a student? When do you typically go to sleep? When do you typically wake up? Traveling domestically, internationally, your social profile. How often do you go to visit restaurants? Your physical store shopping frequency, commuting. Do you own a car? How much do you drive? And so on and so forth. Okay, so the point that I'm trying to make is that these hundreds, and we are now increasing that to even thousands soon, of micro segments are all understood on the phone and by the phone, with no need for connection to the server.
And that kind of is the benefit of being a smartphone-based technology and an AI-powered engine, because so many of those activities and your daily routine is taking place through your smartphone.
Exactly. Look, clearly the mobile phone is the best platform, right? This is the only device that we carry with us all the time. So especially in a world where privacy is the main concern, think about the fact that the entire individual, I would say, mini ecosystem can reside in my phone. I couldn't care less about the rest. I want everything about me only in my own ecosystem. And that was the whole idea around this type of privacy by design that I've described before.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're going to share the audience poll questions, the results, but let's look at these first. So Ofer, any surprises here?
So for the first question, if you're satisfied, I'm surprised that 17% said yes, because, but no, seriously, that fits the existing solutions today. The existing solution doesn't know too much about us. Let me try to see if we can scroll down to the other questions. Do you feel that you have good transparency? Of course, people don't know anything about what the system knows about them. Do you feel comfortable giving companies away data about your whereabouts? Of course not. Nobody likes to do that. And if you are guaranteed that your information will not leave your phone, would you be more comfortable? I see that the vast majority says yes, which is also in line of what we know typically is happening. So I'm happy with these results.
I was going to say, it aligns well with Anagog's solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to end the session, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the topic of coronavirus and the impact it's having on the retail industry today. So in the days of coronavirus, how do you see this impacting personalization and marketing?
Look, I mean, at some point, people will go out from their homes again, right? And they will start shopping again. And I believe that this is going to happen slowly. People will be more hesitant. They would want to get all of this issue of shopping quicker. And it doesn't really matter if you are a physical store retailers or if you are an e-commerce store, right? You will need to understand your customers, and you would need to understand, the customers that are starting to engage with the real world again. And you would need to also change the entire ecosystem to be much more automated, buy online, pick in store, a kind of solution. And so we believe that eventually knowing the context of the user is going to be even more important on the post-corona world, right? Right now, everybody knows my normal situation. When I'm going to emerge after the corona, it's going to be a new normal. The first retailers that is going to understand my new normal are going to win my attention and my engagement.
So that we discussed the longer term impacts of coronavirus on the consumers and how they want to be engaged. Would you say understanding that new normal now will help retailers and brands better succeed for post-corona?
I believe so. I believe that, first of all, we are all probably going to change our habits. People that were spending a lot of time at home and tried for the first time buying online, they will continue to buy online. But still, marketers, after understanding this new normal, they will need to address them at the right time, with the right habits, with the right products. And this is where, even more than before, being able to have hyper-personalization is going to be key for engagement, when everybody are going to start fighting again on the attention of the customers that are going to emerge with their new normal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, learning those new behaviors are enhanced with, a real-time, smartphone-based data tracker, so to say. So just to wrap up, we had two more questions come in from the audience. The first being, can Anagog's JEDI integrate third-party data with its existing on-phone technology? The second is, what is the impact of running this AI on a mobile phone, battery life, performance, etc.?
So starting with the second question, the impact is almost none. The whole point is that we've managed to do all of this machine learning with less than 1% of battery in average for a full day of operation in the background. That was the major first achievement. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to do the rest. And to the first question, yes, there is an option to reverse everything upside down. Instead of sending my private data from my phone to the cloud, let's send everything that the cloud knows about me, my age, my basket size, and so on, to my phone. And then you can engage a campaign that takes in consideration the existing information that brands already have about me. So we are not ignoring this information, on the contrary.
Great, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess we'll close it out unless you have any closing remarks.
Actually, I enjoyed every moment, spending all the day at home with the corona issues and suddenly speaking to people from different parts of the world. You've done my evening over here.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you everyone else for joining and listening in. Again, we'll have the transcript live on our website, on Coresight.com, for everyone to view it and share it following the call. And we'll be hosting these Coresight conversations on a weekly basis, so please join, and we encourage you to all participate. And thanks again, Ofer, for being a great guest and co-host, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.